It's the summer of 2019. It's hot and water temperatures are 90 degrees in Charlotte Harbor. Lake Okeechobee is at 11 feet and water releases into the Caloosahatchee River and the St. Lucie River have been minimal. Red-green algae is appearing in all rivers and canals and the red tide has not shown up here yet. The first flush of rainwater has hit Charlotte Harbor. The water's brown like coffee and grasses of all types have taken over the estuaries. Fertilizer and phosphate and sewage are feeding these grasses and red-green algae. The snook and redfish and sea trout seasons are closed. Last year's red tide killed thousands of big breeding female snook. Tarpon, grouper, redfish, porpoises, and manatees have also died. And I could go on and on. The tarpon fishing has been good but spotty. Governor DeSantis has made some great changes and clearly understands our water problems. He has done well compared to past governors. But we have a long way to go to undo 50 years of bad plans and practices. Governor DeSantis has kept most of Governor Scott's staff on. They need a real change of thought and policy to make a 180-degree change to save Florida. Governor DeSantis has also rebuilt the Southwest Florida Water Management District Governing Board. Will they be willing to do politically unpopular changes to regulations and adding a tax increase to the Valorum tax by $20 a year per household for cleaning and funding clean water? The new Southwest Florida Water Management Board Chairman, Goss, will need to change the culture and really push hard to get real measurable changes and accomplishments done. A 180-degree aggressive change here is also needed to reverse our current problems. Senators have gotten more funding for the Everglades from $65 million to $200 million. Projecting that funding forward, it'll take 45 years to complete and billions of dollars. Anything that takes 40 years and billions of dollars is, well, risky. Are we sure we really have a sustainable solution? Can we really watch and wait? Concrete and reservoirs are man's attempt at throwing time and dollars at this 75-year-old issue. We need the land south of Lake Okeechobee, 1,120 square miles, to be turned back into a swamp. The swamp it was a century ago. Its water moving 1 mile per hour to the Everglades and then to Florida Bay. Both are starving for clean water to reduce the salinity. Clean, fresh water to the Everglades and Florida Bay is the end game. They need fresh water to survive. What about our legislators? They have failed miserably. Our biggest problem in Florida is water. They haven't had a hearing on the toxic algae yet, despite 2 states of emergency in 2 years. They must also revisit the disastrous 2015 Florida Water Bill. It has some huge mistakes in it. Congressman Brian Mast has championed a bill just filed called the Protect Florida Act. Its bill number is 3324. The bill is constructed to add health and human safety to the list of considerations the Army Corps of Engineers uses to manage Lake Okeechobee. If the lake is full of red-green algae, they must consider the effects of releasing that water east and west before doing so. How can anyone be against this piece of legislation? So what has changed in 2019? First, the Army Corps of Engineers has kept the lake under 11 feet before the start of the rainy season, and it's working. We now have the capacity to handle most rain events, resulting in not dumping billions of gallons of water down the Caloosahatchee and St. Lucie rivers, killing our estuaries and feeding the red tide with fertilizers and phosphate pollution. Our rivers, estuaries, and bays now have time to recover. Both DeSantis and Congressman Mast have advocated for this position and are to be commended. Tell your legislator and senators the river of grass south of Lake Okeechobee is the only comprehensive solution to clean up our phosphate and fertilizer pollution problems. We need sewage legislation for sewer plants and federal dollars to help communities fund these issues. Second, the new Southwest Florida Water Management District Governing Board is a big deal. They could yield big results, but we are going to have to wait and see. They must be really aggressive to clean up our runoff and pollution issues. Third, we have a new blue-green algae task force in place. They will need to aggressively attack and report the severity of this problem, urging state agencies to deal with cyanobacteria causes and its real effect on human health and all of Florida's fish, animals, and environment. There is also a tendency to celebrate and throwing millions of dollars at small incremental changes as if they're going to change the course we are on. As history has shown, it will not change our degrading water, blue-green algae, and red tide problems. Again, the end game is clean, fresh water to the Everglades and Florida Bay. This result will show we have solved and reversed Florida's water management crisis.